Hi, I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee, which is available for pre-order. You can find the pre-order link in the show notes below. And I'm also the author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics, and Fantastic Four Grand Design. And welcome to New God Sunday School. So this is the beginning of the great era for this series. This is New Gods number 5, which is one of the greatest comic books ever made. There's like a little cluster of comic books around this time where Jack Kirby was firing on all cylinders, investing huge amounts of creative energy and, sort of at the peak of his skills, working on material that he was very sympathetic towards, working on his favorite genre, space opera, and, bringing that to modern superhero comics. It's just sort of a fusion of everything he'd been working on up to this point. And as a result, he created his career best works, starting with this issue. And in my opinion, some of the greatest comics ever made in the medium. And I submit New Gods number 5 as, one of my picks of all-time great comics. It would be New Gods number 5, New Gods 6, New Gods 7, Mr. Miracle number 9, and then you can pick, what you want among, some other comics among this in this period. But this is it, and this is two super beings locked in battle. One must die. Follow this mighty saga in the New Gods. Superhero deaths in battle become a very common thing, but not in this era. This is a very early entry in sort of a superhero comic where there's real life and death stakes. Orion versus Slig, whose very touch means death. See the mutate monster unleashed on the seas of Earth. Read Spawn. And Jack Kirby would kind of use the term mutant and mutate as sort of interchangeably. But yeah, first appearance, Spawn. As a kid who grew up with He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, I mean, a comic like this would definitely speak to me. I mean, he pretty much looks like He-Man. He's got the He-Man haircut. He's in sort of like a He-Man pose. Slig looks very much like, he could be a character from He-Man. I've heard tell that, one of the things Mattel was working on in the lead up to Masters of the Universe was they were working on possibly doing a toy line based on Jack Kirby's New Gods. So, I mean, I've never seen sort of like a smoking gun for that, but it's something I've heard about. So I completely see it. I believe this was the first issue of the New Gods that I ever read. So, it made a huge impression, a huge early impression. Just made me want to find out more about this. It wasn't this exact issue. I got this issue a little later, but what I had read was this reprint volume from the 80s, which reprints two stories, reprints Spawn and The Glory Boat, New Gods issues 5 and 6. So you get sort of the full Deep Six story, the full story of Orion's clash with the Deep Six, and it's pretty epic. Get sort of a sense of it. This is the comic as I first encountered it. As nice as this one is, and as much as I like it, and as nostalgic as it is for me, I still, prefer the newsprint versions. So here we go. Might be interesting just to do a side-by-side comparison. So the Kirby collage is, because of the higher quality of reproduction, is a little sharper, and they've added some color to it, so it's not just pure gray the way it is here. There it is, the Spawn logo, for all you Todd McFarlane fans out there. And when I'm first reading this comic, it's like, wow, what's going on with this background? This sort of, looks like CGI, looks like, computer-generated imagery for the background, but at a time when I knew, such things didn't exist. The early 70s, Jack Kirby wasn't doing, 3D rendering or anything, so... and I learned about the collages that he made, but it's just like, this very unique and striking visual. And then you have this guy on this cool, like sci-fi throne. Like I didn't know any of the characters. So this guy kind of looks like Tron or something. He's got all this circuitry running through him. So it just, I was kind of hooked immediately. One of the greatest images Jack Kirby ever drew in his career. This is just, breathtaking, wonderful, mind blowing. It's like, what am I looking at? It's this, extreme foreshortening on this, giant alien creature. The scope of it, the scale of it is just unimaginable. You got this, that guy we saw in the previous panel is just, tiny in comparison. You have sort of circuits running across something that seems to be made out of stone. This giant asteroid, some kind of cosmic barrier. It's like, just, I think about this image a lot. One of the great drawings of Jack Kirby, one of the great works of art, that's come out of modern civilization. One of the greatest pieces of art in the 20th century, and the fact that it's part of a larger narrative is just that much greater. That Kirby wasn't just creating a striking single image. He was creating a whole story that this is just one part of. This is an issue I would submit as evidence that Jack Kirby is the greatest artist of the 20th century, and I mean that in the broadest possible sense, not just artist as picture maker, but artist as storyteller, visionary, all those things, and his writing, the much derided writing of Jack Kirby, it's just perfect. Every word is perfect. In one of the last frontiers where all things begin to lose perspective and all roads to the source come to an end, Metron slows his flight. The Promethean galaxy, the place of giants, alive, chained to the fragments of the devices they used in their attempts to smash the final barrier. There were others with Metron's boldness and hunger. This one tried to engulf the barrier by enlarging his own atomic structure. What happened is not known. He failed. He drifts endlessly, larger than a star cluster, fused, living, taking 1 billion Earth years to feel one heartbeat. And somewhere beyond lies the source, the greatest of mysteries. It's just awesome. That's not a wasted word. Every word, just fills your mind with all kinds of imagery and just a sense of what's going on. 1 billion years to feel one heartbeat. It's it's just amazing. This image of sort of cosmic suffering, and I just sort of ponder it like what's what does it all mean? There's a lot of things there, and every time I read this story, I get more out of it. There's this sort of barrier to the source, and throughout history, different great minds, like Metron. Metron relates to this guy here. This is a guy who was trying to accomplish exactly what Metron is trying to accomplish, and this is what happened to him. So this is the warning of what might happen to Metron if he continues to push the boundaries. There is another who failed. She too tried the maximum state. Shattered, motionless giants, intellects that equal my own. I can feel them invading my thoughts, crying out in eternal humiliation. And beyond all the knowledge and sweeping concept at our command, the mystery of the source lies serene, omnipotent, all-wise. But it does make contact with us in New Genesis. These people, they tried to make themselves into giants and created, cyclopean technology to try to, engulf the source, to try and claim the source, to break that barrier and find, the source of all things. And this is sort of, the punishment. That giant from the previous page is somehow crucified to his own technology. And who did that to him? One of the great injustices of the comics industry is that Jack Kirby didn't get to do 50 issues of the New Gods, 100 issues. He only got to do 11, and then a couple extra. Metron returns to his point of contact, Highfather staff, like he did in the sort of prologue that was in issue 4, the previous issue. We're setting up sort of a rhythm. We get Metron's cosmic journey where he takes little steps, forward into the mysteries of the universe, and then comes back to home base. And now we're onto the Earth plot. Sergeant Turpin has his intergang file, and he's looking at video of Orion, and he's asking Dave Lincoln about it, and who's one of Orion's devotees. Dave Lincoln's playing it, close to his vest, but Turpin can tell he knows more than he's letting on. Here we got, and starring a new Celestial with his ebony brush, Mike Royer. So yeah, first appearance, Mike Royer in the Jack Kirby universe. And again, just another element that elevates this issue into all-time greatest territory. I put New Gods #7 and Mr. Miracle #9 ahead of this issue in my own personal pantheon. But yeah, I'd say this is #3. So it's in the top 3. Tom Scioli, all-time greatest comics. And it could easily be #1. There's just a little something that speaks to me a little bit more in those other 2 issues. But I mean, this is really great, and it's like, and the thing that this has that those other 2 issues don't have is this has a lot of sort of Orion action, where the other ones were sort of more ensemble pieces. And so I'm a huge fan of Orion. I mean, when people ask me who my favorite superhero is, mine's Orion. He's watching this video of Orion, that was taken during the previous issue, the sort of like security cameras at that mansion that Orion and his gang busted up. And so Dave Lincoln's driving home, sort of contemplating, everything. And check out this sandwich that Turpin's eating. I mean, I love the way Jack Kirby draws food. And this is like a thing where like the props reinforce the character. Like Turpin is this, hard-bitten, gruff guy. And even his food, it looks like that bread is like the driest, crustiest, crunchy Melba toast or something, So Dave Lincoln's driving back. We kind of, clean up that supporting cast. Like, I think Kirby, has this intuitive understanding that, and it's something I grapple with myself, that like, okay, if you're telling a story, it can't all be, cosmic thunder. There's got to be, some normal people who do normal things. And you got, at least in the very beginning, the beginning of the hero's journey, is in sort of humdrum reality. And so, but, Kirby kind of, disposes with it as early as possible. And, and it's like, more power to him. Because I love all this cosmic stuff. Like the cosmic stuff starts here. And those 2 issues I mentioned that are, my very favorite are like, pure cosmic. I would position this as the greatest superhero comic ever made, this particular issue, because the other 2 that I mentioned don't quite fit into the superhero genre. They're kind of, they transcend it. They're sort of something else. But this is a superhero comic. And Orion is the hero of it. And you'll see just how interesting that gets. But anyway, so we have, Orion's devotees, his apostles, his worshipers. The gang's breaking up. They're talking about how crazy all that stuff they did in the previous issue, going up against gangsters, especially you, Mr. Lanza. You did great. And so he's like, yeah, I got a family. I got to get home and take care of things. And Harvey Lockman's like, yeah, I got a jet too, but, if you ever need me, just give me a call. Dave Lincoln asks Claudia, where do you stand? And she's like, I'm staying here. I'm with Orion. And gee, I wonder what Orion's up to. And look what he's up to. After his little fracas with Slig at the end of the previous issue, now he's, got his leg locked in a giant clam. And this guy Slig is kind of lording it over him, and he's in a bad way. And I mean, just the Kirby's drawing is at its best, and Mike Royer's inking is just like, we're seeing Kirby in a new light that we've never seen before. He's had all kinds of inkers that have done all kinds of things with him, but this is a completely new aesthetic. We've never seen Kirby completely this way, and it feels as though we are seeing pure, unfiltered Kirby, and it's a revelation. It's state of the art. It's slick. It's weird. It's transgressive. It's beautiful. It's ugly. It's like all of these things at one time, and I mean, for me, it doesn't get any better than this. I'm a huge fan of the Super Sentai series, the series that is sort of the basis for Power Rangers. And again, I just see such a kinship with what Jack Kirby does there. And it's like, the stuff I want to get from a Jack Kirby comic, that's another place I can kind of get it from, is sort of the Super Sentai series. And I mean, Slig, like the whole Deep Six looked like they could totally be Super Sentai villains. And then this giant clam could totally be a Super Sentai, monster and stuff. What a great sequence. So we have, this pose is like perfect for the character of Slig, and then he's demonstrating his power. Now, we just met him last issue at the very, very end. And so we're getting a really nice introduction of who this guy is. Like, he's got Orion at his mercy, and he shows him this little bug, this little small crustacean, harmless sea creature. With his one hand, he has mutative powers. Then the mutative powers of Slig's hand poured into its very atoms, and it changed, grew, until it became something else, a deadly trap for a new Genesis guest, eh? And he shows what his other hand can do. His other hand has, the power of destruction, power of disintegration, and destroys that creature as quickly as he created it. Orion's pretty shocked by what he saw. And that's how you were taken, Orion, by a jolt from these hands. Do you doubt me? No. Well said. Others from New Genesis have been more arrogant and less fortunate. You'll live, Orion, until my brothers return. Then, before you caught me off guard, I saw something down here, something huge. Yes, a masterful creation by the Deep Six, our contribution to Great Darkseid's campaign to shake up Earthmen. Yeah, so it was kind of like that giant creature that Orion saw off panel kind of shocked Orion, kind of caught him off guard, and while he was sort of in a state of shock, a state of surprise, Slig, came up and zapped him with his killer hand. Slig leaves, and Orion quickly shows that, sort of like Houdini or something, like a Mr. Miracle kind of thing, that Slig thought he took all of Orion's gear, but he still got a little bit of circuitry in his wrist, and he can channel the Astro Force. And so, I'm reading this comic for the first time, and it's like Astro Force. The Force, it already feels a lot like Star Wars, and now like the Force is in here. And so he channels the Astro Force through his wrist and starts zapping this giant clam. And it's just an awesome sequence, just the way it's drawn, all these, this amazing sort of, mark making and energy. And then, it's not like just a simple thing like zap and it's done. This is like a really, powerful, strange creature that he has to fight, and it starts rising up out, and it's got these long roots that go into the ground and keep it rooted, and pulls nutrients or whatever, and he has to keep pulling this thing out of the ground and then sever its tie, to the soil to like completely uproot it and destroy it. It's just, an amazing sequence. And then it's on. And you'll see this sort of thing a couple years later in like X-Men comics and stuff, when like Wolverine is like, running around through like, the base of like the Hellfire Club, killing all their guards and stuff. This is what Orion's doing. He's like running through this cave of the Deep Six, and it's filled with mutates, with these sort of, Island of Dr. Moreau kind of creatures that Slig and the Deep Six have created. And so they have this guy, this giant shark, and just look at this. That's just such a great design for a panel. He's sort of sneaking up behind him, and the shark, hears him. He gets his knife ready to strike, but he misses, and Orion, gives it to him. Pow, pow. I mean, look at that punch. Body language. What a great design of this character. Like, this is just a throwaway character. You never see this character again. He's gone, but it's like this needs to be an action figure, and when I was working on Superpowers, I was gonna, bring this guy in as sort of a major character, and he just says, good work, Shark Seed, which I think he's referring to that, he was the seed of a shark or whatever, that Slig had taken a shark and then mutated it into this creature. But I was thinking, some people mispronounce Darkseid and call him Dark Seed, and I thought, like, ooh, what if I name this guy Sharkside, and that Slig sort of named him Sharkside in honor of the great Darkseid. You think about, teasing a big reveal, like, we don't see that giant monster that terrified Orion, but we see the harness that held it. And this harness is just really strange and creepy and amazing and, like Lovecrafty. And this is just the holder. This is the holder for it. And so you can sort of imagine what and now knowing what Spawn, the Spawn looks like, you can sort of imagine like what it might have looked like all put together. And it's something I'd like to draw that sometime, just sort of draw what, what I think, the Spawn would have looked like inside of this. When Gil Kane was asked about Jack Kirby and what his opinion of Jack Kirby, this is the issue he would cite. And he would talk about, Jack Kirby, being like the best in the business. And he would specifically cite this issue. And he would cite this. He said, he created this like harness for a monster. And it was, the coolest thing he'd ever seen. And it's the harness. It's like you're seeing like a horse's saddle. And you're like, holy shit, what the fuck am I looking at? That's amazing. And there's various things in this issue that he cites as like, Jack Kirby's just a genius. So we have this cool scene, he's sort of running through there, and then, quick, he's almost like a ninja going through there and like knocking out another guy. I think this might actually be one of the Deep Six and not like one of their mutates, because he shows up again later, and man, Orion's skulking. And, people who study Kirby, like, I've seen, people who do sort of like Kirby riffs and stuff. It's a lot of panels from this issue you see people riffing on, and this is one of them. And then we get a sequence here, which makes me, pretty sure that the guy who made the movie Highlander was a Jack Kirby fan, because there's a sequence exactly like this in Highlander where the cop is talking to a guy in traction, a police officer, and the guy's saying like, you don't understand, man. I ran into one of these guys and he just, it was 2 seconds and now I'm in traction. And it's like, it's more complicated than you think. There's there's bad guys, but there's also good guys. And, so, watch Highlander, you'll see this scene pretty much play out. And then there's like a line that I still, puzzle over, is this one, don't put down UFOs. You don't see anyone wearing derby hats, but I do. Does that make me a UFO? It's like, I'm not quite sure what Kirby was going for there. I mean, it's, again, it's interesting. It's cool. It's a little piece of Turpin's character, but I don't quite understand it. I still puzzle over it, but I mean, that's fine. If that's like the worst thing in the issue, it's pretty awesome. It's, it's still, it's not, at least it's not boring. It is something that kind of puzzle over. And so now back to, Dave Lincoln and Claudia Shane, and they're sort of worried about what's going to happen to them being involved with Orion. We got Thunder, and now we have a boom tube. And now, if you've read enough issues of these comics, you know that when a boom tube shows up, it's like, holy shit, what's coming? Could be a good guy. More likely, it's a bad guy. More likely, it's some sort of messenger of death. And so Claudia says, when I hear the thunder, I can imagine that monster Darkseid pacing back and forth, giving the orders to kill us. And then out steps this guy, and it's like, holy shit, she's exactly right. Darkseid sent somebody to kill them. Sound of someone walking through a boom tube. He's not like just shooting through there like we usually see stuff coming through a boom tube. He's walking. Larger and larger looms the traveler in the tube. His body is squat. His breath rasps like a file, and his feet are hammer blows of sound in steel corridors. His desperate rasping last breaths. Listen, Claudia, I've got a strange hunch. I'm taking you home right now. And then boom, the big reveal. Crawl, you earthworms. Calabac is here. We get this nice shot of Calabac, somebody we were, sort of introduced to in the first issue. And then we had like a little like pinup image of a little later, and now that seed is paying off. It's really nice the way this work is structured. And again, it's to sort of have this be your first issue of New Gods, as it was for me. You really get the sense that you're in something special. That like all kinds of amazing stuff has already happened. A bunch of amazing things are about to happen, and the book I'm currently reading is like amazing too. So it's like I want to read every single issue of this comic. And the hunt was on. I mean, I spent the next couple years just trying to fill in the collection and get every little piece of this, and finding them out of sequence, reading them out of sequence, and each little bit of the story was just like incredibly intriguing. It was a great way to experience this series, and just sort of knowing Calabac from the Super Friends cartoon, he seems so much more menacing here. Like wow, this is the real stuff. But in the undersea caverns of the Deep Six, the situation is reversed. Apocalypse is on the defensive there. Only Orion could have caused this carnage, but how did that savage free himself? Slig cautiously follows the trail of silent forms where he knows it will lead. Come in, Slig. I was just reclaiming my equipment. One of your mutates finally volunteered to show me where it was stored. Allowing you to live was a mistake, Orion. I mean, just, beautiful artwork. Each one of these 3 panels, incredibly beautiful. The shadow on the wall, I always love when Kirby would do that. You'd see like the shadow of the bad guy. Yeah, just a great shot of like Orion, unleashing the full Astro Force. This blast of Astro Force is just a hint of my displeasure. Just, beautiful, beautiful drawing. Only Kirby. It's only Kirby draws like that. You didn't finish me off, Orion. I'm still going to get my hands on you, and then... That's the kind of talk I like to hear, Slig. Tell me how I will die at your hands. Orion has this like scary smile on his face, just like Darkseid. When he smiles, he's pretty scary, and he is going to gleefully pound the shit out of Slig, and he does. It's these moves, like even in a Jack Kirby comic, you've never seen it. This is like, he's elevating his sort of, superhero fisticuffs to a whole new level, and an intense savagery that's like appropriate to this character. We haven't seen this side of Orion before, and this issue is a turning point, because up till this point, we've seen hints of Orion's other face, but we weren't quite sure what to make of it. But he's been pretty much like the hero's hero, but here it's like we're seeing his mean side come out, and it's not pretty. He starts to enter sort of like anti-hero territory, which is a real sweet spot. He becomes kind of like a Conan type character, like a Wolverine character before Wolverine. You dogs of Apocalypse are eloquent when destiny favors you. Ah, I see that your counterpart Mother Box is where her guidance is sorely needed, near your head. But she'll protect you no more, you demon. Ping, 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 ping. Like you, Slig, she must be rendered inoperative. Listen how she voices her fear. It's sad. War is terrible and sad, when even such wondrous mechanisms must pay for the flaws in us. The pressure increases. She must cease to function or destruct. She's gone, Slig. When she couldn't serve you, your Mother Box chose to die. She loved you, Slig. And then he lets out this like just bellowing evil laugh. You think about in issue 4 of Forever People, we saw Desaad attempt to murder a Mother Box, and he just seemed like the slimiest piece of shit for doing that. And here we have the hero, the hero of the whole, New Gods, Mr. Miracle, Forever People cycle. The main hero is doing the same thing. He's murdering a Mother Box. And again, it's like, we sort of love these little robots and computers and stuff, more than we do the human characters in stories. They just, for whatever reason, and, he just fucking murdered it. And he had a great time doing it. There's maybe a little bit of regret in what he's saying about it's sad, war is terrible, but he might also be, kind of sarcastic, and he's certainly got a huge smile, and he gets a huge laugh out of it. Like he's just like a complete sadist. And again, this is the hero of the story, and this is our first time seeing it. And that's something that happens, throughout this series. We get these just amazing reveals that deepen the story and complicate the relationships of the characters and complicate our relationship as readers to these characters. Slig was not a good-looking guy to begin with, but man, he is not looking good, all beat up. And it looks like he got some teeth knocked out. You kind of start to have a little empathy for him, and the way these things are colored, it looks like Orion like knocked some of his teeth out and stuff. Now, all these years later, looking at it, it's obvious that he has these two kind of fins on his chin below his lip, and one of them's colored white to make it kind of look like a tooth or teeth that have been knocked out. But the arrangement of teeth looks like there's some spaces in there. Slig is soundly beaten, but there's still fight left in him. He tries to rise. Noble, sanctimonious New Genesis hero, I'll kill you for the sham you are. Your love of destruction has forced your true face from hiding, Orion. The rumors about you are true. Yes, you croaking frog, they're true. Orion is flawed. More than that, you're a mad, tormented animal, Orion. I would be, Slig, I would be, if it were not for the Mother Box. Mother Box protects me. She calms and restructures and keeps me part of New Genesis. Orion is his very own monster. And so now it's Slig's turn to laugh. And I think this might be the first issue in the series to show that, like, the bad guys have mother boxes too, which is kind of interesting. The series just gets more and more interesting with every issue. And then we get a beautiful, Jack Kirby, three shot where it's almost like animation. He's got his sort of, Jekyll and Hyde monster face, and then he holds the mother box up to it, and then it restructures it back into the sort of handsome face that he goes around with. So he doesn't feel so out of place on New Genesis. Thinking about like He-Man or something, this is like Manny faces or something. And they did make when they made the Orion toy for the Superpowers line, they did give him a Manny faces helmet, and you could turn his face around inside the helmet to give him a different appearance, exactly like Manny faces. Now the Superpowers toy came after Manny faces, so it's kind of there's an interesting thing going on there. There can be only one survivor, or none. You'll die too, Orion. So there's another how Highlander might the creators of Highlander might be New Gods, Jack Kirby fans. There can be only one. That revelation shall die with you, Slig. For between beings of power like ourselves, there can only be one survivor, or none. You'll die too, Orion. Love it. I mean, this is sort of like an extended super battle that's going in a way that you've like never, ever, ever seen in a superhero comic before. And it's nasty. It's a grudge match. Orion is not acting in self-defense. This is an assassination. This is a murder. This is curb stomping somebody. If I can't kill you, the curse you bear eventually will. You'll never win this war. If this series had gone on longer, it might be interesting to see, how these statements might, foreshadow, something, further down the line. And you won't be there when it's over. Your killing days have ended. Once stirred in the fires of hate and inner fear, there's no stopping the arrival of death. The pits beneath your clammy cave seem deep enough to hold you for ages, Slig. Let the depths now receive you. I love this, just the progression between these two panels, the sort of animation and being sort of, deep in the background, and then this, extreme foreground element. It's just great. And then this, I've seen this, copied by, people doing Kirby riffs. I've also seen it copied, in Kirby comics. There's a drawing in Phantom Force that's attributed to Jack Kirby that is basically this just flip-flopped. So I don't know if like Kirby himself did that or one of his assistants. Orion, gets back into his gear. He's back looking, the way he did in issue 1, but with the Royer inks, looking, better than ever. And he, flies out of there through the water. Whatever is about to be loosed in the sea, I must stop it, even if it means driving into its very jaws. And, compositionally, that's exactly what he's doing. He's flying directly into its jaws. And we get this just incredible. This is the monster that's been teased all issue and a little bit at the end of the previous issue. And he doesn't disappoint. It's like a sea monster like you've never seen. It's like a mutant whale with this like battering ram chin. Would not be out of place in the He-Man line of toys or the Super Sentai series. He sort of looks half technological, half biological. all monster. And this was like another thing that Gil Kane was waxing on and on about this like amazing monster drawing. And so like if you just isolate this comic as a single issue, there's just so many amazing things going on that just this in itself is just like this goes in the time capsule. This is like if you want to show the best of what superhero comics have to offer, Exhibit A. And at that moment, the thing spawned by the powers of the Deep Six hurls itself into view like an armored mountain given angry life, eager to revive the dreaded myths which have terrified seamen since ages lost. Stay with it. Don't miss it. The Glory Boat. Big setup for the next issue. I mean, look at this drawing. This is just amazing. You see all these little bits and pieces. So this is Spawn. One of these days we got to get a Spawn versus Spawn comic. And so if that wasn't enough, if that wasn't worth your 25 cents, you also get that Jack Kirby introduction, and then you get the origin of Jack Kirby's Manhunter. But it's like, hey, tell me more about Apocalypse and New Genesis. And so you get a nice letters column. And then you get a bonus story, which, once I upgraded to an original copy of New Gods 5, this is not reprinted in that 80s reprint series that I'd originally read. The Young Gods of Supertown. Slow down or be tranquilized. We're monitors. Introducing Fastback. And so we got Mike Royer in the main story. We got Vinnie Coletta in the backup. Next to Light Ray, the fleetest object on the world of New Genesis is young Fastback. He won't stop. We're due for some bad moments. And so we have the monitors, the introduction of the monitors, which are sort of the New Genesis police force. And sort of in later stories, we'll sort of imply some more sort of sinister things going on this, paradise world of New Genesis. The time of chaos is here. Fastback is in the skies, testing some new principle to refine his arrow pads. Growing up is more of a trial to the elders than the young. So, we get a nice little glimpse of New Genesis, like we get more of a view of Apocalypse, but New Genesis seems super interesting, and I'm always intrigued by any kind of information I can get about it. Fastback's arrow pads are working well. He outflies the monitors. Missed the brat. He's like a runaway meteor. We'll get him on the next pass. Keep your hopes up. The game is as old as time. Youth and its flamboyant fads against the serenity sought by the structure. Up there, it's the Fastback show. He needs some help to show him how to run it. I can not only catch him, but leave him behind. Then, as it always happens, every innovative device created by the young takes to the air in pursuit. Clear the way, Fastback. Here comes the competition. We'll soon rid you of your arrogance. Jack Kirby's making this in the early 70s, but it's in the wake of sort of, like the youth revolution of the 60s. And so he's doing sort of, we have like sort of, car culture, souped up hot rods like we'd see with Johnny Storm in the Fantastic Four, but giving way to sort of motorcycle culture, motorcycle gangs, and just sort of young people, just figuring out their own way of doing things, their own way of dressing, and causing a lot of headaches for the older generation and for the establishment. So we're getting a little bit of that. Easy Rider or something. They're having a good time, yee-hawing, and Jack Kirby is doing his bit with it. Behold the clumsy flight of the lame ducks. Your quacking delights me. And so there's Fastback standing on the top of some scepter of some giant statue of one of the elders of New Genesis. Really cool getting little glimpses of the city of Jack Kirby's paradise that he's created. Monitors trying to take me by surprise. This calls for a lightning maneuver. Close in fast. Don't let him get away. And so Jack Kirby's showing you other lenses through which to look at this universe that he's created and this this conflict, but also possibly introducing other characters that could spin off into their own series, preferably drawn and written by someone else. That was Jack Kirby's plan, that he would maybe do this core a core set of books, but that he'd be building a larger universe that he could hand off to others. Hounds of Apocalypse. Did you see that? I almost didn't, which didn't come to pass. That never ended up happening, and that was a disappointment to Jack. That was one of sort of the things that he was promised when he came to DC. Suddenly, the Force comes into play. The Force, that sounds familiar. It's invisible, but powerful. It drains the energy from Fastback's aeropads and draws him down. No, not again. This happens whenever I reach peak speed. Here comes Fastback. And of course, Fastback ends up where he usually does. This way, Fastback. We've been waiting. He's hurriedly helped into the appropriate garb and given the right book of songs. You'd better be at your best today, Fastback. Highfather's your audience for today. But I haven't rehearsed. I've been working on my arrow pads. Don't worry, we won't tell. It's been established, but reinforced here that song is, singing, passages from the holy books of New Genesis is, one of the major elements of this society, this civilization, and particularly the songs of the young, these sort of youth choirs, and they're helping Fastback get his choir robes on. Curiously enough, Fastback is plagued by an incurably beautiful voice, and curiously enough, his roguish activities are somehow terminated in time for him to perform for Highfather. Or is it the power staff of Highfather that plagues Fastback? For is it not said that there is nothing swifter than the invisible force of its summons? There's the F word again, the force. Highfather's staff summoning Fastback in the same way that it summoned or was sort of like a beacon for Metron earlier in this issue. Well done, Fastback, but I do detect a few neglected passages. You should spend some more time brushing up on them. A little, morsel of a story, a 4-pager, but pretty nice and just expands, our view of this world. A nice little quiet, funny sort of, cute little moment, cute little story in this, very, brutal and severe superhero story. So there you have it. But yeah, if you haven't read this, go out and get it. This is, in whatever form you can. Don't walk, run, and get your copy of New Gods #5. The best that superhero comics has to offer. I'm Tom Scioli, author of I Am Stan, a graphic biography of the legendary Stan Lee. And you can pre-order that book by following the pre-order link in the show notes below. I'm also the author of Jack Kirby, The Epic Life of the King of Comics. And there's also a order now link in the show notes for that book. Thank you for joining me for New God Sunday School.